Invasive aquatic species have made their way into bodies of water like Lake Winnipeg and into other bodies of water across Manitoba. One invasive aquatic species in particular, the zebra mussels, have been extremely detrimental and continue to wreak havoc with no end in sight.
Zebra mussels are small bivalves or mussels. We have a lot of native mussels here in Manitoba, but these ones are invasive.
Zebra mussels are small clam-like aquatic species that are native to Eastern Europe. They spread quickly through reproduction and invade new areas. Zebra mussels are not native to Manitoba or North America. They were brought over to the Great Lakes in ballast water of ocean-going freighters from Eastern Europe in the 1980s. Zebra mussels attach themselves to solid surfaces, aquatic vegetation, or to each other. Research scientist Scott Higgins says zebra mussels filter algae out of the water, which isn't a problem in the short term, but becomes an issue when the number of zebra mussels becomes very high.
So they're about the size of your fingernail, but what they make up for that in terms of numbers. So in the Laurentian Great Lakes, which is one of the first places they colonized, they could reach densities up to 10,000 individuals per square meter of lake bottom. So when you sum that up across all of the lake bottom, there's trillions and trillions of mussels in that lake. They all filter the water just like native mussels do, but because there's so many, they have a tremendous, what we call a filtration pressure on the lakes that they invade. And so they have the ability to transform whole ecosystems.
The invasive aquatic species zebra mussels have made their way into several bodies of water across Manitoba, including Lake Winnipeg, the 10th largest freshwater lake in the world. Now zebra mussels have been detected in one of Manitoba's biggest tourist spots, Clear Lake. In early November 2023, samples collected from Clear Lake during the summer show the presence of live zebra mussels at Boat Cove throughout the season. Scott Higgins says zebra mussels can move between water bodies quite easily.
What they do is, as adults, they attach onto hard surfaces, which means they can attach onto boats, boat trailers, or even aquatic plants that grow near boat launches. And so if you have a boat and a trailer and you're backing your boat into a lake, it's easy to catch some of that vegetation on your boat trailer, and you're inadvertently also catching the zebra mussels and then moving them to a new location.
Higgins says it's very hard, in most cases, to eradicate zebra mussels once they enter certain streams, rivers, or lakes.
The focus of governments all over North America has been to try to stop or slow their spread, so their movement between lakes. A big part of that is education, so boaters and people who use lakes need to know the risks, and they need to know how to identify or see that they have zebra mussels on their boats, what they need to do to clean them and to decontaminate them. And then also to understand that although we can see the adult zebra mussels, we can't see the juveniles, which are microscopic.
Higgins believes most of the bodies of water in Manitoba will eventually be impacted by zebra mussels, some more so than others.
Zebra mussels require calcium concentrations of about 10 milligrams per liter. So lakes on the Canadian Shield tend to have lower calcium concentrations that don't really support zebra mussels very well. But any of the rest, so right on the eastern side of the province, those lakes are a bit lower risk, but the rest of Manitoba is, yes, at very high risk. Zebra mussels are sort of a generalist species, and they can survive in a lot of different lakes and a lot of different conditions, and rivers as well. And so now that they're in Lake Winnipeg, in the Red River, and in the Nelson River, basically all of the lakes and rivers that are in Manitoba are now at higher risk.
And from that, Higgins says bodies of water will not die per se, but will completely transform.
They can impact everything from bacteria, right at the bottom of the food web, all the way up to the top members of the food web like fish. And they do that because they have such a high filtration pressure. They filter out a lot of what we call phytoplankton, or algae that other animals eat, insects and aquatic invertebrates, and those invertebrates would then be food sources for fish. And essentially what's happening is the zebra mussels are outcompeting these other invertebrates and really disrupting the food web. It is likely, within at least 5 or 10 years that we'll see other lakes that have been invaded by zebra mussels. It would be really great for us to be prepared for that, to be able to, like in the Clear Lake example where they caught it very early and there's still a chance to eradicate them. It would be great if we were in that position for other lakes as well.
Canada has more than 2 million lakes and rivers, housing some of the largest lakes in the world, and Manitoba's Lake Winnipeg is one of them. Up in Gimli, Manitoba sits the Namao, and its purpose is to conduct research on Lake Winnipeg. The vessel is operated by the Lake Winnipeg Research Consortium, and through annual surveys and tests, Dr. Karen Scott says zebra mussels have not caused as much damage as other lakes across North America.
Like any living organism, they have requirements, and as tough as they are, those aren't quite being met here. And so their numbers are not as high as they could be, certainly as they are in other Great Lakes in North America.
Even though they aren't thriving as well as other places, Scott says the zebra mussels will most likely always be present.
It seems like their requirements aren't fully being met. They're not thriving, let's say. So they may just sort of, hum along under the radar, and or they may affect certain areas more than others, like protected areas. But no, there's no real way to get rid of them. Yeah, they can eat themselves out of house and home, I guess, but then their population would respond.
Lake Winnipeg has 7 invasive species present in the lake, with the most famous of them being the zebra mussel. But the quagga mussel, a cousin of the zebra mussel, might be more harmful to Lake Winnipeg.
A big difference between the two is that zebra mussels like hard substrates, and it seems to be that Lake Winnipeg doesn't provide enough hard substrate for them to really thrive. Quagga mussels, on the other hand, do quite well on softer substrates, so its needs might be met more fully than the needs of the zebra mussel. So, and they can also quite profoundly affect the ecosystem, similar to zebra mussels.
Quagga mussels are present in Ontario, but have not been detected in Manitoba. Scott says they are monitoring things very closely.
Really, it's probably more a matter of when than if. But again, we can slow that down by being careful. If you're coming from Lake Erie with a boat, clean it beforehand, because they're out east, and certainly it's just a matter of time before they arrive.
Scott says there is more than just nutrients and zebra mussels impacting our bodies of water.
We see those things. We see algal blooms, and we think, algal blooms, and we see zebra mussels, and we cut our feet on the beach. But really, there's so much going on that we don't see, and that's very complex.
For the public, one of the most important things to realize is we are all in this together. And we need and rely on the public to do a couple of basic steps every time you use your watercraft or any water-related gear, whether that's construction gear or PFDs, paddles and ropes that go in the water attached to your anchors, and the vessels themselves and the trailers that are used to haul their vessels around, is you need to clean.
Dr. Jeff Long, a manager with aquatic ecosystems with the province of Manitoba, says there are 3 simple steps for people to follow to avoid contaminating other water bodies with invasive species, and that is clean, drain, and dry.
I'm trying to emphasize that for people so that they don't say, gee, this is helpless, there's nothing we can do. In fact, there is lots you can do, and it's those simple steps. Now, if you've been in the Red River and you're going to go to another water body in Manitoba, you have to decontaminate after that. So any of our control zones, which are specific areas set up for invasive species, then you need to decontaminate. But most water bodies, you don't.
Long says there are other invasive species that also can heavily impact water bodies in Manitoba.
The most immediate one doesn't get a lot of attention, that's spiny water flea. We have a couple of control zones for that, because it also affects the zooplankton in the water body. And what that does is it creates this sort of layer between the start of the base of the food chain for so many things, and it interrupts that and shifts it. So now species that have adapted over the last up to 10,000 years to certain aquatic ecosystems, when those systems change, those species sometimes can respond okay and other times they can't.
Long says the province works with other partners, including lake groups, municipalities, and Indigenous organizations as part of their monitoring process, but he says it's important for everyone, including the public, to work together to keep our water bodies clean.
There are people who really care, and they care passionately, and they're working hard, and we're working to be very coherent in our message and also in our action so that people can work together. And yes, we have zebra mussels in this system. Let's not have that happen anywhere else. And if we work hard at that, I think we have a real chance at success. So I hope that people watching this will actually take that on a bit themselves and say, there are things that I can do. I can help promote that message, being responsible. And when I'm out using surface waters in this province, I'm going to help by doing my bit. I think that's an important message.
It's not good economically, it's not good for the ecosystems, so it really is worth it to take your time and make sure that you decontaminate your boats or your other watercraft that you use in any of these locations.
We have to start to really think about what we do and stop taking things for granted. Take a little extra time to manage our waste better, whether it's walking on the beach or pick up waste if you see it.
Nutty and sweet latte macchiato. This one's for the prize?
Intenso.
No. Cool. Definitely iced. Sweet. Bye!
Nespresso. What else?
Spring is here, and there's no better time to get into a new Nissan. You've been waiting for the right moment to get out and drive, and great offers are ready and waiting for you. So check out all the latest tech, features, and thrills. It's all happening right now. During the Nissan Spring Into Savings event, lease select models from as low as 2.99% for 24 months.
Ever dreaming of lustrous colors? Gray hair? Not a problem. Vegan Speedy. Just mix both creams on the tray and then apply onto the gray hair. 5 minutes is all it takes. No mess, no worries, no stains. Once color is attained, rinse well. Vegan Speedy. Coloring your hair is now as easy as 1, 2, 3. Vegan Speedy. Color change in 5 minutes.
Black Friday pricing continues. This weekend at The Brick. Get 60% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. This 5-piece dining set is just $5.89. And 75-inch 4K TV only $8.49. The Brick, saving you more.
Here's to those who ask how. Like Kevin, who asked Janine from Home Hardware how to build a place to work. Or not work. Or Siobhan, who took Josh's advice and created a front yard worthy of this TV commercial. Or Eric and Sasha, who asked Julie how to reimagine their backyard so they could be more outdoorsy. Complete your next project with helpful advice from thousands of store owners and team members across Canada. Home Hardware and Building Centers. Here's how.
This is the moment when I saw my life flashing before my eyes and realized I had to live more.
Action! He became the director of his life. And Exotica, an extraordinary travel crafter, made it happen.
Has to be more epic. Can we make it nice? Greater. Magnificent.
What could you wish for?
That it's affordable.
Start planning the life you want to see flashing before your eyes at exotica.com.
Manitoba's Lake Winnipeg is one of the largest lakes in the world, known for its beaches, its biodiversity, and its fishing, but it's in danger of becoming a dead lake. There are several organizations across Manitoba that are dedicated to preserve and save Lake Winnipeg. The East Interlake Watershed District in Gimli, Manitoba is one of them.
The East Interlake Watershed District, along with the other 13 watershed districts across Manitoba, it's a partnership between the local governments, like the municipalities or First Nations within the area, and the province of Manitoba. And it's a grassroots organization that delivers beneficial management practices to the watershed to ensure a sustainable watershed over time and the improvement of water quality.
The East Interlake Watershed District has a number of programs dedicated to improving the watershed, like partnering with landowners or farmers to improve the ecological benefits of the area.
We're looking for very important areas, areas like wetlands that slow down water before it reaches Lake Winnipeg. It also enhances the habitat of the area, And the other benefit, there could be other economical benefits as well too. Other things that we're looking at are things such as we're receiving funding from $2 billion tree program right now for shelter belt programs or mass tree plantings. And tree plantings are fabulous because they're great at absorbing carbon, so it fights climate change, but it also helps alleviate effects of climate change. So shelter belts also slow down water, create habitat, and a number of benefits.
Belanger says there are a lot of bad things that absorb into the soil and end up in the watershed.
We're working on regenerative agricultural farming, and that's 6 different practices that farmers can do to regenerate the soils, put carbon back into the soils, and create those soils into a living life.
The East Interlake Watershed District is partaking in several projects around the Interlake region, including creating wetlands around the area. He says while there is a lot of good happening, there is the major risk of climate change.
So right now we have invasive species coming into Lake Winnipeg, and they were brought here by people. But also with the effects of climate change, we could have more invasive species coming in. Because with climate change, we don't have that minus 30-degree temperature weather, which can hold back some invasive species. And the warming of water will increase the likelihood of other invasive species coming in.
Belanger says it's a good time to work with and partner with watershed districts like the one he works for, because they are finding solutions to better our ecosystems. He says there are ways people can help to fix the worsening situation.
The best thing to do is plant some native flowers or vegetation. Native flowers and vegetation, they have the benefit of rooting down very deep, 6 to 8 feet deep down. And then when you have a rooting mass down deep, then the water that hits that area can penetrate into the soil and increase the ecology and biology of the area.
Lake Winnipeg is unfortunately plagued by algal blooms. So I think increasingly Manitobans have experienced these green, smelly waters at the lake that prevent us from enjoying the lake as we wish to. And these algal blooms are caused by excess phosphorus loading from within the lake's watershed. So human activities in the watershed, human sewage, livestock manure are all producers of phosphorus. When that excess phosphorus reaches Lake Winnipeg, it drives the growth of those algal blooms.
Algal blooms are growth of vegetation sitting on top of water bodies. Alexis Canoe from the Lake Winnipeg Foundation says it's excess growth or productivity within the ecosystem.
And that throws the ecosystem out of balance because it's not the usual food chain or not the usual nutrient levels, phosphorus levels within the lake. So that can have far-reaching impacts both up and down the food chain.
Canoe says algal blooms are becoming more frequent on the lake and they are starting earlier in the season.
While they have been something people have experienced for the last 3 or 4 decades on Lake Winnipeg, we now tend to see them more frequently. And 2 of the most important predicting factors for algal blooms in any given year is the amount of water flow going into the lake as part of the spring melt and summer water temperatures. And both of those factors are increasing under a changing climate. So I do think we are seeing more frequent algal blooms as our climate changes.
Canoe says industrial, agricultural, and municipal sources of phosphorus use is heavily impacting the growth of algal blooms here in Lake Winnipeg.
Phosphorus is a part of all life. We all need it to grow. The problem is that right now we're producing it in excess through many activities within the watershed. But the largest sources of phosphorus are sewage from our wastewater treatment plants and agricultural phosphorus either through animal manure or through fertilizers.
In January 2024, the federal government announced an investment of $650 million over the next 10 years into the Freshwater Action Plan to protect and restore water quality and ecosystem health in Canada's major watersheds. Lake Winnipeg is part of that funding. The Lake Winnipeg Foundation released a report titled 5 Things the Federal Government Must Do for Lake Winnipeg in 2020, and 4 years after the release, most of the recommendations have not been met. Canoe says evidence-based policy is needed to protect the lake.
We need to identify the largest sources of phosphorus that are driving these algal blooms on the lake, and we need to tackle them one by one through the best available policy means. In some cases, that will mean regulation, regulating phosphorus-producing activities. In other cases, we'll need incentives for behaviors that reduce the use of phosphorus and the release of phosphorus into our waterways. But ultimately, governments have to accept their responsibility, and I think citizens over the last few years have done a very good job of letting governments know that Lake Winnipeg matters to them, and failure is not an option. Everybody's looking for that individual action that they can take, but really this is a collective action that we need. No one of us can make the change that's necessary at the scale that's needed just all on our own. So I'd encourage everybody who cares about Lake Winnipeg to reach out to their elected officials at all levels, federal, provincial, and municipal, and let them know that they are expecting governments to follow through on their commitments to protect the lake.
Get ready, because a new season of The Old Man is coming soon to FX.
Do you recognize me now?
Need to catch up? Stream the entire first season on City TV Plus.
This is not just another E-Class, because it evolves with you.
It adapts to engineering.
It is the first E-Class made just for you. This is not just design, because your E-Class, it adapts to, it recognizes you, understands you, empowers you, energizes you, feels you. It evolves with you. The new E-Class.
Savor the beauty of Canada with Nutella.
It felt like merciless flashes of electricity.
Charlotte never thought she'd get shingles. Shingrix helps prevent shingles. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Shingrix. It's covered by most private insurance plans.
Nice hand towel, huh?
What do you need hand towel for? Can you use a big towel for your hands? What's next? Foot towel? Turkish. For $8? You're getting this towel.
Deal so good, everyone approves. HomeSense.
Black Friday pricing continues this weekend at the Brick. Get 60% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. This 5-piece dining set is just $5.89, and 75-inch 4K TV only $8.49. The Brick, saving you more.
Why pay full price for quality products? Make Surplus Direct your liquidation destination. Appliances, furniture, clothing, and more for up to 80% off retail prices. New loads arrive daily, so don't miss out. Come on back and say hello to Good Buys.
Dig safe. Building a fence, planting trees, adding a sprinkler system. Click before you dig to have underground natural gas and electrical lines located. Safety, it's in your hands.
Treat your car, truck, or van to a full-service wash at the Chamois Car Wash and Detail Center today. Our industry-leading ultra-soft washing system is gentle on your vehicle and the environment, using only earth-ready soaps and waxes. 15 minutes door-to-door is all it takes to get your vehicle looking its best. Our bronze full-service wash is only $28, so come in today and get your vehicle chamois cleaned inside and out.
I'm ready for all competitors. Welcome to the world that you deserve to be in.
Double down, then I level up.
This is the best I've ever seen.
My favorite act so far.
You're dead, it's time to settle up.
I want to see more.
You absolutely nailed it.
Yeah!
Whoa! It was incredible.
The word is epic.
You've got a real shot at winning after that.
America's Got Talent. All new Tuesdays, 8/7 Central on City TV.
For the past 2 years, what I've been doing is I've been researching how zebra mussels, which are an existing problem, can actually be part of a solution for another problem that exists within our water bodies, which is eutrophication, or the growth of blue-green algae.
Winnipeg High School student Baljot Rai has always loved science. He's been competing in science fairs since he was in grade 4. In the past, Rai has primarily researched the impacts environmental toxins have on everyday use items, but this year he went more local, tackling environmental toxins in fresh water bodies like Lake Winnipeg.
We used waste zebra mussel shells, grinded them, thermally treated them and chemically activated them. And what that allowed us to do was develop a biosorbent, which actually now has the ability to go and absorb phosphorus from our water bodies. And phosphorus ends up being one of the main culprits and causes for blue-green algae growth. So I've been doing this for 2 years, so we've had a lot of exciting development, and research shows that we can absorb almost 70% of phosphorus located within our water samples. And obviously it's much more feasible for smaller water bodies to start with and then expand to larger water bodies, but there are positive results.
Rye says the amount of phosphorus in Lake Winnipeg is 200% higher than normal levels, making Lake Winnipeg one of the world's most threatened lakes. Rye says the bacteria is harmful for marine life and can be toxic for humans and animals. He says he wants to find a solution as soon as possible, and his work is not going unnoticed. His passion on this topic came from the severity of problems that Lake Winnipeg suffers from.
I mean, it all started from a simple presentation that I listened to about a group at the U of M that actually developed a small device that could detect the presence of zebra mussels within our water bodies. And it started from a presentation there. I was sparked and intrigued by how severe the issue was, and it went on from there, looking into research and looked into different amounts of research that have been done at different institutions, really looking at how we can repurpose biological materials to develop adsorbents.
Rye has been given several scholarships for his work and has been recognized across the country.
Feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. I've had the opportunity to speak to science fair judges at both a provincial and national level. I got to discuss this with our Minister of Environment, Minister of Advanced Education, or the Prime Minister's advisor on freshwater issues. So I've had the opportunity to speak to a variety of experts and representatives about this, and it's been very positive feedback. It seems like it's something that's feasible, and it's always great to see people encourage youth to continue to be advocates, to continue to be leaders for change, because that's really what we need more of in the future.
Rye is hoping for an amelioration in Lake Winnipeg's condition over the next 5 to 10 years.
This isn't just an issue that affects researchers or scientists or government officials. Lake Winnipeg is something that's precious to all of us. It's integral to our identity as Manitobans. It's integral to our economy. So I think it's up to all of us to really take the next step in preserving Lake Winnipeg, or taking whatever action is necessary to help alleviate the issue. And a special message to the youth out there, it's that we really have a lot of potential. And we have a lot of places we can go with that potential, so I think it's really important to recognize that.